Hi there, it's Kathy House with Be Creative with Kathy. Um, in today's video, I'm going to make a couple of cards. I decided the last minute I was going to make two cards instead of one. So we'll see what happens and how prepared, how stuff goes today. But today I'm going to show you two different ways to use these are called the Grove dies. It's upside down. The Grove dies like this, Grove dies like this to make two different styled cards. And we're going to be using this designer series paper. Now this designer series paper is called A Walk in the Forest, and it's a special paper from Stampin' Up! Because, and I never can remember the exact words, so I'm going to just read it straight from the catalog here. But you find it here on page 5, and it says here that the designer series paper Stampin' Up! Will donate $3 to support an organization dedicated to spending cheer and providing to support for those in need. Um, so that's what this designer series. Every pack of paper Stampin' Up! Sells, they'll send $3 to an organization. So that's the designer series paper I'm going to use. Let me just give you a quick run through to excuse me, to show you the different designs are. So of course there's this um, snowflake one. This is, or snow bound one. I don't know what this would be called, but this is what we're going to use. We're going to use one of those. And then with this designer series paper, you can see with my scraps in here, this piece of designer series paper also coordinates with the Marius tree dies. So these dies cut out these trees, and you can see one piece of designer series paper. I've already used all the trees and all I have is bears left. Now the bear on here coordinates with the punch, the bear punch, which also has a stamp set. I'm going to go on. That is the very cute stamp. But I'm going to go ahead and hang on to that punch. Well, why don't we just go punch the bear out now, and then I'll hang on to the bear. Let's see if I can get this in here now that it's all cut apart. Let me lick my finger and have it move that paper. And I'm going to hold the paper and make sure it looks good. Yeah, looks pretty good. Because we're going to use the bear on one of our cards today. So there's the bear already. Let me show you some other designs in this paper, just real quick. So it has the pretty Christmas paper, some pines, um, pine cones in there, some more of that snow, that bear, more bears that you can punch out, or look how cute the facing forward bear is. Nice stripes on the back. And then on this paper here with the trees, this has the snowflakes. We're going to use some of that pattern too. And then what's the last pattern in here? Oh, the trees, and then another stripe. So there's all the paper or designs in that paper. I think it's great paper. I've used it quite a bit, but well, I keep using it, so there you go. So let's cut, first of all, our designer series paper the size we need it. I need both of them to be 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I want it to be 5 1/2 inches wide. So I'm going to just set it here in my trimmer at 5 1/4. Did I say 5 1/2? It needs to be 5 1/4 by 4, and you can't even see because I'm off the camera. There we go. And then I need it 4 inches tall. So there's one of them. And really, I think I'm going to use this pattern, but now I'm not sure. We'll look in the card and see which one we like better. And then this one, let's see, this one's already cut. Is it close to 5? Let's cut it 5 1/4 this way. And then I need this one by 4 too, because if you're just joining me, like I said, I'm going to make two cards today, just a little bit different. They'll have a lot in common. I have also here a piece of, nope, that's the thin. This is thick basic white. This is going to be our card base. So the first thing I'm going to take it, and here the 8 1/2 inch is at the top, and I'm going to put it at 4 1/4, and I'm going to just score with the lighter blade the whole piece of cardstock, and then turn it to the 11 inch is at the top and cut it at 5 1/2. And this will give me my two card bases. So score once, cut once, and you have two card bases there scored and ready to go. Now for this piece of just regular basic white, it's not the thick. I need a piece that is 5 1/4. I have to think here for a minute. 5 1/4 by 4 inches. by 4. No, oh, and I need a piece. I almost forgot. I need a piece that is 5.5. Let's cut this next one at 5.5 by 4 1/4. And this is just a quarter piece that we're going to cut down to a size, but I think I better start with the big piece like that. So 5 1/4 by 4 there. And then we need to hang on to that another piece just for scraps for later. Okay, I think we have all of our paper cut now. Let's bring in those Grove dies. Let me show you too, because I showed you the Marius Tree dies. It also has a coordinating stamp set that looks like this, which is really cute. I have a couple cards planned in the future to show you how to use this die set, which I was shocked. This has 26 dies in this die set. Really cute. Well, no, the card's too far. I was going to show you the card, a sneak peek of the card real quick, but I better not because it'll take me forever to find it. Okay, so now let's do some die cutting. We have our 2 card bases. I'm going to die cut on first that piece that was 5 1/4 by 4, which I believe is this one. Okay, and Patty Bennett, who is an outstanding demonstrator, shared that if you take this die from the Grove dies and you include these deckled rectangle dies, they go really well together. Now when I take my dies out, you can see what I do with my dies, and I'm going to show you how I do that to keep them together. In case you want to make like several cards, if you set it up this way, it's a lot easier to run it through. Now you could just use washi tape and hold the 2 pieces together, but I like to take some press and seal, and I'm going to just tear a piece big enough to cover. Let's see, that looks pretty good. My 2 dies here, and I'm going to lay that press and seal over my dies. Just like that, and it looks pretty centered. I think I like the way that it looks there. I'm going to take this part down here, this extra, and just cut it off. I'll save that for another project. And then looky there, then I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to set it right here on the front of my paper. Well, in fact, first of all, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm pressing it on my pants to get some of that stickiness off the press and seal. Believe it or not, press and seal is pretty sticky. So there, now it's even going to hold my paper. It's all good and ready to go through my die cut machine. So let me bring in my plates, which I can't find. Here they are. So I have my number 1 platform, my number 2 plate, my number 3 cutting plate. I'm going to lay my sandwich or my stack of paper and dies on there, and then I'm going to lay the top plate on there. Bring my machine in. Then let's run that through. Now, since this is a pretty fine cut die, I'm going to go all the way through, and then I'm going to go back. And now look how that's going to cut that out. See how I said that press and seal though is pretty sticky, and it's supposed to stay on there so I could do more. There we go. So now if I wanted to make more of them, I could just peel my paper off of there. And then my die set, or my die cuts, are set up so I could do it again. I could just go lay that on another piece of paper, right? And do it again. So that's what the press and seal is really good for. If you're wondering, the best way to get this off of your cutting mat is just take a piece of cardstock and scrape it off. That is the best way to get the paper off of your cutting pad. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on the second card for just a second. All of this, all we need is this piece here. All of this is trash. Let me get rid of that. Now for the second card, I'm only going to use this piece here. And I'll tell you too, if your dies are ever sticky because of the press and seal on there, if you just take a little alcohol swab and wipe them clean, you'll get that sticky off of your dies from that press and seal. Sometimes they have a little residue or something that's sticky on there, and that helps every time. Okay, so now make sure I have no paper in my die. Let's work on the other card. So this time I'm going to take one of those card bases, and I'm going to lay that right on my platform. So I've got, again, the number 1, number 2, and number 3. I'm going to lay my cardstock on there. Now, I want the bump of the score line to be on the inside, so I'm going to lay that down. And then I'm going to lay my die on here so it looks centered and looks pretty good. And then lay my cutting pad there on the top. And then bring in my machine again. And one more time. And because it's pretty fine cut in there, I'm going to run it through once and then just go back. It's also easier on camera. Hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, and now we should have that little pattern on the front of our card base. So it looks like that. Alrighty, we'll set that aside all clean. Oh no, we need to use that one more time. Let me use that cardstock, clean that off again. Because we're going to cut out some little deers from that same die set for the front of our card. Get rid of this big mess here. And I think of Stampin' Up's cardstock that new pecan pie is a really pretty color and will work nice for the deer. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to lay my cardstock on there, get those two little deers, this deer here. I'm going to call him a mama deer, and a baby deer, not a bear. Okay, lay that cutting plate on the top again one last time. We're going to run that through. Whoops, he moved. Fix my deer again. Hold on a second. Run that through my die cut machine. This time, because it's just a simple layer of cardstock, big old deer, I'm going to just one time through should be plenty. And now we should be done with the die cut machine. So if you're trying to remember the sizes of the cardstock that I use, don't worry about it. You can go to my blog, BeCreativeWithKathy.com. A little bit after the video, it takes me a few minutes to get in there and get it done. But the measurements and the supply list will be on my blog, and the link is in the description below. So you can find that there. Okay, so now I think we have all of our pieces and parts. We just need to do a little bit of stamping and then we'll assemble our cards. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in that scrap of basic white here. And this is what I'm going to stamp on. I'm going to use 'Tis the Season for my deer card. And this is from the stamp set, what was this called? Brightest Glow. I'm going to set that on a block, and I'm going to use some balmy blue ink, and that's just because that's the same color here in our designer series paper. So I'm going to just stamp that down. I'm going to stamp it toward the bottom because I'm going to punch this out, and let's see if I did this right. We'll see when I do. But I'm going to use our double oval punch to punch this out, and I want to layer it with another oval punch. So look, I can do it both at the same time when I stamp it like that. So it's ready to layer just like that. The other card, I'm going to use this Happy Birthday right here from the Days to Remember stamp set. All kinds of stuff in that stamp set. Okay. Bring in another block, and this time, since it's a photopolymer or a clear stamp, I'm going to use my stamp pad, and this time I'm going to use Pecan Pie because I believe that's the same color as our bear in that designer series paper. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to line it up here at the, well, I'm going to turn it over in case this oval's too big, but I'm going to line it up here at the bottom. Am I even in the camera? Now I am. There, look how nice that was. Nice. And then I'm going to punch it out again. And now I have the greeting for my stamp set. or for my card from that stamp set. Okay, and did I mention the list of supplies will be on my blog too? Maybe I forgot to mention that part. Okay, now we have everything to put together the 2 cards. So let's start with this card here. I'm going to try to get some of those pieces out using my die brush and my sponge here. And let's change this tip out. This is the wrong tip. Well, they'll use this tip to poke those little pieces out there. There we go. Get rid of that mess there. And then I'm going to put this directly onto this piece here, like this. So I'm going to just use a little bit of liquid glue. And I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. I don't want to get glue on my work surface or on my cardstock, so I'm going to put it on my silicone mat here. And then just put a little dobs of glue along the edge here. And this is liquid glue Tombow that dries sticky, but yet it a little bit goes a long way. And once it gets going, there we go. I don't want too much. I don't want it to ooze out everywhere, but I want to make sure that my card is nice and doesn't fall apart. So a little bit of glue here, like that, maybe a little bit more down here. And then I'm going to set this and center it right on top of that piece of designer series paper. And look how pretty that deckled edge looks on that designer series paper. Or on that tree die, the Grove dies. I can't do 2 things at once. I can't glue and talk at the same time. You'll have to forgive me. Okay, then we're going to just take our basic white card base. This is the thick. Remember, I like to do my card bases in some thick, nice cardstock. And we're going to take this and then just lay it, same glue, and just lay it right there on the top, on the front. Like I said, I don't think I can do 2 things at once. I don't think I can talk and make cards. But I'm going to just keep going. And there we go. When it moved, slide it back. That's what's good about that glue, is it can move around for just a second and position it right where you want it. So now it looks like that. Now I have some sticky or some glue here, so I'm going to just use my adhesive remover. Now, Stampin' Up, you can't find these on my online store, but I do have a place on my blog where you can find essentials for your stamp room, and that's where you can find these. Or even like Dollar Tree has something like this little eraser. Adhesive remover, I believe is what it's called. There we go. So that looks a lot better like that. Okay, let's just add our deers really quick. And I'm going to put those on with dimensionals. So I'm going to bring in my mini or the small dimensionals and try to place one up here, making sure you can't see it on the other side. And we'll just place a couple dimensionals here and then a couple dimensionals on that little baby deer. And then because I don't like when I guess you'd say the feet of my reindeers, I guess they're their hooves, hang like just dangle there. So I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue along the bottom here and kind of let that dry. So that way it's still sticky but doesn't gush on my card. Take those dimensionals off. Wait, I want to put the mama deer on there first. Get those, okay, I can't get the backs off. There we go. And just set her, let's put her here. And then, but see now how the hooves or whatever stay put there, don't look like they're just flapping around in the wind. We'll put that little baby deer, I keep calling her a bear now, behind her. And looky there, isn't that sweet? Okay, now where we stamped, make sure I get the right greeting. I want the one in balmy blue. I'm going to just take a little bit of adhesive here and layer this onto that same white oval. I shouldn't say the same, from the same punch, and then we'll put some dimensionals, and I'm going to just use standard dimensionals right here on the back. And then put that right there. And isn't that pretty? Just like that. Now, later, so you don't have to watch me, I plan on taking this, I'm hoping your Christmas shines bright with the love of family and friends in some balmy blue, and I'll just stamp that on the inside of my card to finish to finish off my card. Okay, let's go to the next card. So remember we cut that I can't do two things. Well, okay, the die on the front of our card. I wanted to get my sponge here and my brush again and try to get those little pieces out from where the die cut them. And we'll poke those little pieces out. Okay, and let's work on this card now. Let's clean up all these little pieces first. Okay, we're going to first of all fold on that score line, making sure that it's the sides of your cardstock line up. Get a nice crisp fold there. And now we have a piece that looks like this that kind of has that window. Okay, then we're going to take this piece and we're going to lay it here. Now we have to decide, do we want the snowflakes there, or would we rather have the little trees? Now I kind of like the trees. I'm going to go with the trees this time instead of the snowflakes. So again, I'm going to put some glue, and I'm going to just avoid the edge of my paper here because I want my designer series paper to cover up the glue and to stick, and I don't want it to show on the sides, if that makes sense. And just little dots here and there. It's a nice big area, so you don't have to really worry about the glue showing or not getting spread around, I guess. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to lay it on there so it's centered nicely. Well, and now that I look at it, because we cut this piece of basic white to cover that if it looked bad, but I kind of like the look of the snowflakes on the inside. So I think I'm going to leave this piece off of this card and just have that the inside of our card. So that would be the front and that would be the inside. That's pretty pretty. We're just going to stay like that. I'm going to fold this again, maybe get this so it's lays a little flatter like that. Now all we need to do is add our greeting and our bear. And then, of course, again, I would find a stamp or something to stamp on the inside to finish my card. But I'm not going to have you sit through that. I'm going to use my tape runner here again and layer that happy birthday onto that white oval. I really like the softness of the ovals together with the softness of the front of the card. And we're going to just put that on dimensionals. This time, my bear is going to be walking in to the forest this way, and my greeting is going to be up here in the corner. Put some dimensionals on the bear here. And there you go, just like that. So there's the two different cards. Now, I am a very simple stamper, and usually I would just stop right there. I'm happy with a simple card, but if you wanted to step these cards up, there's a couple things we could do. We could bring in some basic rhinestones, and I'm going to use these itty bitty ones or the smallest ones at the top, and I'm going to kind of just sprinkle them here on my card to kind of add, whoop, I lost him, there he is, just to add some bling and glimmer there. Can you see that? I'd probably add a few more, or you could also use these snowflakes here. So for the snowflakes here, I'm going to just take and pop those on this card. And I think I was going to use the white, but now I think I'm going to use these bronze one because we used the brown for the bear. So I think, let's see how that looks. Yeah, and let's put one of these big ones down here maybe. And look how cute that is with just a little bit of color with those snowflakes. So you could probably take this kind of card and go wild with it. Like I said, I'm a pretty simple stamper, so I like to keep it simple. But there you go. There's my 2 cards. Now, if you want the measurements and all the supply list that I used, be sure and visit my blog, becreativewithkathy.com. Give me just a few minutes and I'll get it over there and get it all done. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you back here next Monday. Bye-bye.